Hey everyone, I'm Matthew from Dental Access. Some of you may know me already from tech support. You may have called in, spoken to me on the phone, or I've come and done an install, or we've met at a trade show or some other event. I'm the technical product manager here at Dental Access, and my role is to deal with anything technical across the company, be it triage scanners, lab, CAD software, 3D printers, milling machines, and everything in between and how they all talk to each other. Today, we're going to focus down on some patient communication apps. You may have seen the little teaser video we did on Facebook a few days ago, where I talked about how we can look at the different apps that are available from 3Shape if you have a triage. So let's get going. So these patient communication apps, they're available chairside. That is, as soon as the scan is taken, you can look at these apps. You may have to post-process the scan, which can take just a few minutes, depending on the size of the particular scan. But nonetheless, they're there immediately. So you can chat to the patient and show them with these apps immediately, which is really great for them understanding the treatment options or what their current situation is. And it also is in full color and 3D, which is really helpful. Some patients can understand from talking, some like to have it written down, but others like to have a visual reference. And this also encourages patient involvement. They can touch the screen, they can move the teeth around, they can see and understand what's going on. So how do we access these apps? What do you need? A triage. If you've got a triage 1, 2, 3, or 4, you get all of these apps free of charge. The only caveat is not with triage 3 Basic. Triage 3 Basic is just scanning only, whereas all the other triages are scan and excitement apps. And if you've got the new dental desktop software, these apps will be included already. Any questions about how to get this or how to upgrade from the old version, please get in touch with our support team and they'll be able to help you out. So what are these apps? We've got patient monitoring, we've got smile design, and treatment simulator. And we also have a little Easter bunny here to deliver a little Easter egg. And what the Easter egg is the clearance map. The clearance map's always been there, but not many people use it. So I'm going to change the screen now over to the triage software and we can take a look. So I've got some cases I've made yesterday. I've got one here called crown prep. What I've done in this particular case is I've taken the standard model, which many of you would have seen on courses for crown prep. We can see here there's a 1-6 prep on the back, and then at the front 2-1, 2-3, and a missing 2-2. So yesterday I took the triage scan, and then I went straight ahead to the analysis page. And it's in this analysis page that we can use the clearance map. So here we can see there's the scan. If I want, I can turn the color off. So all we see now is the 3D shape. We don't see any color. You can see there's a few blue spots where I didn't scan quite well enough, but that's my fault, not the scanner's fault. So what I want to look at is down the bottom of the screen here is the clearance map. Stop laptop wobbling. So here we have the clearance map. And what this is a rainbow as such, or a heat map showing the distance between the two jaws. So I can open the view like this, or I can close the view, or what I'm going to do here is at the top right, I'm going to hide the lower jaw. So we can see here there's a heat map showing the distance between the jaws. Down the bottom right of screen, I can scale this as I choose. So I'm going to say, let's look at everything. So I can see green is 2.7, red is 0.47, or I can go the other way. I can scale it right down. So all I see is the areas where it's in contact. So for example, here on this 1.5, we can see a bit of blue, that's where it's contacting. A few other points along the opposite quadrant. So what this can be really useful for is to explain to the patient, look, this is why you're grinding. Maybe you have really heavy contact in a certain situation. What else it can be useful for is crown preps, to know, have I prepped enough for a particular material? So let's take this 1.6 for example, and let's scale the color map to say, I'm going to have a certain material, zirconia, Emax, whatever you choose, and let's say 1.36 is the minimum thickness. This would tell me that throughout this area here, where the heat map is showing color on the 1.6, I don't have enough clearance, so you need to prep more. The same for the 2.3, we can see there's a bit of green, which means at 1.36, there's not quite enough clearance. If I bring back the lower jaw, we can look here and see, okay, so that's what it's talking about, this distance here. Or in the case of this prep at the back, we can see there's not quite enough space in there. This view I'm looking at now, sort of from the tongue's perspective, this can be really helpful for patients to understand how their teeth are glued together as well. I'm going to scale the heat map right down just so I can see only the contact areas, and we can see there's one in here, so I'll zoom right in, and we can see that's where these teeth are occluding together. This sort of view can help patients understand not just how they're occluding, but how the cusps interact, how they move around and chew food. So that's the clearance map. You may use it only for some certain applications, but nonetheless, it's a really good tool that's available immediately after scanning to help the patient understand the clearance of their teeth. And maybe you, as the dental professional, a prep, or maybe if you're doing a bite splint, whatever indication you're restoring, you can use this. What other applications have we got? Let's go back to the Patients tab, and let's look at some patient monitoring. So patient monitoring is really good if you've taken scans regularly. So in this particular patient here, I've called 2.6 extraction. You can see all the scans are dated yesterday, Wednesday. That's because I have taken some scans from another scanner that we have and imported them. So even though it says the date here is yesterday, being Wednesday the 10th, it actually reads the scan data, the individual scan file, and in that file it has the date of creation. And so using that date of creation, we can do patient monitoring. So if you've had a trios for a few years and you've had a patient have multiple visits and you scan them every time, this is a fantastic tool. So I've got 4 scans loaded in here. You only need 2, but the more the merrier. And what we're looking is a patient with an extraction on the 2.6. So it doesn't matter which of these particular orders we choose, patient monitoring is automatically chosen. So I'm going to go up here to patient monitoring at the top of the screen. And what's going to happen is the software is going to load all the scans in and automatically segment all the teeth. And that way each tooth is its own digital item. I will just jump back to the segmentation to show you. You can see there's some information here. I'm going to hide it for brevity. And so we can see what's happened here is the software is automatically, just in a matter of a minute or so, identified which tooth and put a border on it. This has done a pretty good job, so there's not really any need to adjust this. Let's say I wanted to adjust it. Let's just zoom in on this spot here on this 4.7. Let's say actually I want to say this area here is the tooth. So you can see I'm painting on, and that way all that area becomes the tooth. Or if I go, oh, that's actually wrong, I can go to remove, and instead I can remove the area. So this is what you can do if the algorithm hasn't picked up quite the right shape of the tooth, but in this case it has. I can also change the size of my circle, so I can cover a much bigger area as well, and I can edit the ID. I can say actually instead of the 4.7, this tooth is the 4.8, or whatever tooth it may be. But thankfully the software has figured it all out the first time without any input from us required, and here we go, we've got all the teeth. So I'm going to say accept and continue, and that way I've accepted the segmentation. I said this is where the teeth are. Next, what we have to do is align all the pairs. So we saw before at the start I have 4 different scan dates for this patient. One from yesterday, no prizes for guessing that's actually me, and one from last year from the 17th of May. And I can see here that these have aligned very, very well. I can, of course, adjust this if I want. I can go 3-point adjustment and say where I believe the points for alignment should be. So I'm going to say one here on that molar corresponds to there. Then I can do another one on the opposite molar there in the fissure, which then corresponds down here. And then a third one maybe on the incisal edge of that tooth there. corresponds to that there. And they snap into alignment. But as we saw before, the automatic alignment actually did a perfect job. So I'm going to leave it to the computer to run an algorithm and align the teeth together. I'm really happy with that alignment. The vast majority of it's aligned. We get this marbly color between the blue and the beige, which means that they're aligned really well. And again, I can click accept and continue and move on to the next step. It's again warning me to check the alignment. So I'll do that again for the upper, and here we go. I'm going to turn the color off so we can see the distinct textures. And we can see here down the bottom of the screen, I'm comparing the 17th of May to the 10th of July. And you can see there's a bit of movement in the 2-7. What I can do, I can change my blue all the way back to 21st November 2017. And there's even bigger movement. Or I can take it right back to 31st of March 2016 before the tooth was extracted. What we can do here is we can do a tooth comparison with, again, a heat map. So what we can see is how each tooth has moved relative to itself or has changed in shape. Let's zoom in on this one tooth for a bit, and we can see that actually there's, if I change the heat map, there's quite a bit of change in here due to some chipping. A little bit here as well. Maybe I need to have some work done. But the big difference really is this tooth at the back. We can do an overall scan comparison as well, which compares the scan just as a whole rather than individual teeth. And this is where we can see that, again, a bit of change here, but going on with my gingiva. This is actually quite personal, really, showing my teeth to the world like this. Bit of change in the soft tissue here, and quite a bit of change in that tooth. And again, I can change the date of the scan. Let's move forward to the 21st of November. Still a change. Still a change. But looking around here, we can see there's less change. So there's quite a bit of change since 2016, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago almost. But there's only a small amount of change from 17th of May last year. So this is a really cool tool to show people, patients in particular, or if you scan yourself, to see what's changed over time. And you can demonstrate how the lack of treatment can affect the dental hygiene. Another cool thing I can do here is the simulation. So at the top left of the screen, I'm going to click simulation. And now I can have a video of how it changes. So let's again look at the 2.6. This is before extraction. And then down the bottom left, oops, I will click play. We can watch a little video that merges each scan together. So you can see there's this teeth moving, the tooth gets extracted, tooth keeps moving, tooth keeps moving, tooth keeps moving. So something like this, if you've got a patient like this on file, to demonstrate to your other patients, this is what happens if you don't get an implant put in straight away, or if you don't use, say, clear aligners or retainers to maintain the space. This, for me, really helped myself understand what's happening to my jaw. I can feel that there's a change, but I can't really quantify it. So seeing this is a great way to qualitatively and quantitatively show the change. Let's just jump back to the measurements. And speaking of quantitatively, I'll go to the cross section. Then I'm going to hide both lower jaws, swing the view around. This is another great view where I can see the change. Let's push that right back to the start. Then I'm going to draw a cross section. You might be able to see that really thin black line. There's my cross section here. I'll turn on my clipping plane. And now I can see a cross section of exactly how the teeth have moved. So we can see there's been a small amount of movement intruding of the premolar. Obviously that molar was extracted, but the really interesting part here is that the 7 has moved quite a way forward. What I can do, I can zoom in on here and find a common point. So for example, this cusp here, I can measure the distance. It's moved 4 millimeters to a corresponding point. That's quite a bit of change, and seeing values like this, seeing cross sections, maybe we can do a clipping plane across here as well. we can see how much my teeth have moved. Changing the plane slightly again is a really good way to see. So this is a really great tool to show the patients what's going on, how their teeth have changed. Maybe if I get rid of that plane here and then draw another plane arbitrarily through there, and then I have to look and find, where am I looking? In here. So you can see my 1-2 has changed by 0.8 millimeters. So maybe I should rush off to the dentist after this webinar. So that's patient monitoring, a really cool feature. I have another case, which I won't show just for brevity, but it's an ortho case. Actually, no, we've got enough time. Let's look at the patient monitoring ortho demo. This is a case that we got from 3Shape directly. So they've scanned one of their staff members over time. So you can see here they've got some, let's have a look in there, they've got some lingual orthodontics going on. Let's go to patient monitoring and quickly have a look and see how we can visualize the teeth moving with time. So as any good reality TV chef, here's what I prepared earlier. Let's look at the simulation and watch the teeth move. Close that. Again, I like to turn the color off just because that's me. And let's watch with time how these teeth are moving. So we'll watch the simulation and you can see, there we go, a huge amount of movement. So this is, again, education if you're in orthodontics, showing your patients how their teeth may move by using other patients as examples. Let's now look at the lower and we'll hit play. So they're quite crowded down the bottom at the start and you can see they move out and then start to twist into place as the orthodontic procedure continues. And this is only from 9th of August 2016 to 30th of November 2017. So in the space of 14 or 15 months, that's a huge change, and it's a really good way to show your patients how quickly teeth can move. So speaking of orthodontic movements, let's talk about another excitement app or communication app, and that is the treatment simulator. What the treatment simulator is, it takes the scan of the teeth and again individualizes them, turns them into their own 3D object, and then it uses a sort of a cartoon to show how the teeth could move. So I've got a patient here called upper diastema and lower crowding. So let's open that up. And here we can see there's a big gap here. If we swing around and look through, basically look underneath the teeth, we can see there's a bit of crowding. The centrals have tilted a bit. So if we move on to the treatment simulator, we can see how this process works. So this process isn't done entirely on your computer. It takes the scans and uploads them to a supercomputer online that 3Shape have set up in the cloud, the magic of the cloud. And that way it can do the processing of isolating the teeth and moving them into a suggested ideal position really quickly. So the faster your internet is, the faster this is going to be. And then it downloads the case back to your computer, and then you can move the teeth as you so choose. So what we can see on the left is the patient as is with the gap. And what we see on the right is the computer recommendation of how you could move the teeth together. Let's hide, say, the lower and look at the upper only. And we can see here, it's moved the centrals together, rotated them back into place, and a few small movements. So on the left, we've got the original, and on the right is the suggestion. If I want, I can click on a tooth in adjustment, click on a tooth, and then I can angulate it. So I can say, actually, no, I want to tilt this tooth a bit, or I can rotate it. So if I click rotation, then maybe I can go to this canine here, rotate it a bit as well. You can make as many movements as you want, or I can undo. I might undo all and set them back to how they were. Let's have a look at the lower as well. Bit of crowding on the social 6, and the software has automatically proposed that they're all aligned together like this. Again, this is just a simulation. It's not a clinical treatment outcome, just a visual graphic to help the patient understand how their teeth could move. If we look at both jaws again, we can again see that there's only a small gap here. So I might say, I want to move this mesally or distally. Click on this one click in, the other one click in. Maybe that's what the patient wants to close that up. This can also encourage conversations of, well, you can move the teeth orthodontically, but if the teeth are chipped, like we see here, even if they're moved into an ideal position, they'll still have a gap. So that could say, well, maybe some veneering or crowning could be another option as well. Really, really cool tool, and lets you visualize just in a matter of minutes how you can move the teeth around and what options are possible for the patient. And again, like the clearance map, we can swing around and view from the tongue's point of view. So if we look from the tongue's point of view, zoom right in, we can see there's a bit of a strange bite action going on. Maybe this has been cleared up a little with the result of some orthodontic movements, whether that's braces, whether that's clear aligners. So that's the treatment simulator, really good tool. We can change the view mode between before, after, and dual. Maybe you can get this after photo or the dual photo, and the patient can take a photo of the screen, a bit antiquated, but it's still possible. Really great tool. And finally, what I'm sure you all really came here for is the smile design. So the smile design works by taking a photo of the patient and then uploading that, so you can then make a pretty picture of their teeth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my phone here, unlock it with my fingerprint, and I'm going to, you can download this app yourself. You can see I've made some test cases before. I'm going to make a new one now. I'm going to call this case patient first name. Let's call it Thursday, and demo. And I'm going to add an image, take a photo, mind the selfie. Let's get a good smile here, try and get it even. And there we go. Nice photo of me. Say OK. And this is now uploading in the background to the software. Again, the faster your internet, the faster this is going to be. So I'm just going to go to cases, hit refresh, synchronize with 3Shape Communicate, and we'll be good. As I'm sure you've seen before, I'm just going to switch back to my PowerPoint presentation. This is the workflow for smile design. We take a photo either with the app, or if you've got a fancy SLR camera, you can do that as well. Then we create the future smile. We can see on the left, there's the existing smile of this particular example, and on the right, there's the demo or the smile design of what they could be. Then you can send this off to the lab, who can use this as an overlay to help them design real crowns or veneers or snap-on smiles or whatever restoration is chosen if the patient decides to go ahead with a particular treatment. So let's now jump back to the Trios software. We'll just refresh again and see if that case has come through. Should have, only takes a minute or so. It's just one photo. And we'll design me some lovely new teeth. Just while that's loading, we'll just bring that up again, take the photo, create the smile, and send it off to the lab so they can use it as a guide to help them with their final 3D design. So let's go back to my patients, and there we go, Thursday demo. Here we are, smile design, there I am. Let's now go up the top to the smile design section, and let's design me some beautiful gnashes. So the first step is to align the photo. So again, using just my cell phone, I may have been a bit tilted, may have been a bit wobbly. What I can do here is I can zoom in, and I'm going to click on my pupils. One there, and you can see this little target come up, sort of a sniper's view of exactly where the center of my pupil is. Then next, I'm going to go on the nasal wings. So where's my nasal wing? About there. Where's the other one? Yeah, about there. And then finally, we want to mark the very edge of my lip line. So there we go, there and there. Very intimate view of my smile. See, maybe there's a stray beard here. What we need to do now is edit the lip shape. So when we design our teeth in a moment, they're going to be hidden behind this lip. And so basically the only teeth that we can see of our design is encased in this blue. So what I'll do, I'll move this point up here, move the next point up here, and the third point to there. Just slightly adjust my lip line there. Maybe I can just wiggle that up bit, and the same with the lower. Bring that down, and bring this down here. So there we go, we've marked out the lip quite well. If I want to adjust in here, say, I can just draw. So you can see I can draw, and thanks to this lip editing radius, it will smooth off. So at the moment I'm using my left hand because my right shoulder just had surgery, so my mouse hand isn't as good as possible. So you can do digital dentistry with one hand tied behind your back effectively. I'm just going to adjust, and there's my lip line. Maybe just a tiny bit in there, but we're done. And you can see it's marked the center line of my teeth, marked the center line of my pupils, and we can see my nose is slightly offset. But anyway, this isn't a cosmetic review of me, it's an instruction on how to use the Smile Design software. So that's the points and rotation done. If I'd done another photo, which you may have seen, where you had the lips retracted, so if you have an Optrogate, for example, or two retractors, you can see the full teeth with gingiva as well. I haven't done that in this case for brevity. I just wanted to show you the speed of which the photo from the phone uploads. So now we've got the Smile Design. Again, you can see I've got my guidelines and I've got my teeth. So I'm going to quickly move this blue line here and say, where are my teeth roughly centered? So about there. But you can see I've got quite big centrals and smaller laterals. We can also see that we can really only see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 teeth, but the Smile Design is 5. So I'm going to click on the 5th tooth here and then click delete tooth because I don't really need to see that. Same on the other side, delete. So now we've only got 4 teeth. But again, I mean, this is a nice library, but it doesn't really match my face. If we hide the frame and just look at my teeth on their own, oops, that was moving an entire tooth. Let's just go undo. Let's change the smile library. Let's find something that's a bit more Matthew Thompson. So let's go, I don't know, Colza Parla, for example. No, maybe not. What about Cangelor? Yeah, that's probably better. Let's go choose one of these Fab libraries, or maybe Matt Roberts. Well, that's actually a bit more reasonable. Let's go with this. So I'm going to bring my guidelines back in. I can also show and hide the teeth color as well. So we'll just do that again. There's some simulated teeth color. We can look at that later on, but let's just go with the shape for now. So I'm going to say let's make everything a bit taller because that's sort of how I view my teeth. Maybe drop that one down there. I'm going to make this particular central just a bit wider, and you can see the opposite tooth scales with it. That happens because I'm using the symmetric design up here. If I turn that off, I can scale one tooth, but the other one doesn't. So that's a really good feature if you've got an uneven smile that you want to make even again, or however you wish to do it. So let's go there. Actually, I don't like that. Let's just go undo. That's much nicer. Then I'm going to move my lateral out a bit, move my canine out quite a bit, and I'm going to make this canine quite a bit bigger to match my current canines. As you can see, the other tooth's gone with it on the other side. Let's move that lateral, and let's just move these 4s just back a little bit because we can just see them. Why don't we have a bit of fun with this? Let's say it is Halloween and I want to become a vampire. So there we go, some nice vampire teeth. Maybe some soft tissue adjustments would be required for this. So I'm going to say, let's bring these down a little bit, and that's a bit more true. So that's just moving the teeth in bulk. I can also click on here and make the entire smile wider, make it narrower, bring it back to roughly where it was. If I get it wrong, I can always go undo, and it snaps back to how I want it to be. So for me, that's an all right smile. Let's just take a quick look. Let's turn some teeth shapes on, zoom out, hide the overall. Yeah. What do we think? Vampire? Maybe they need to be, I don't know, a bit bloodier? Not sure. I'm looking at this shape in here, and I want to adjust the shape of this tooth. So instead of being in the transform section, I'm going to move to the freeform section. And from here, I can click on this tooth and I can say, actually, I want to have this come up a bit more like this. Maybe, yeah, maybe something more like that. And you can see even though I've put the tooth shape up here, I can do something really crazy like that. But of course, because I marked the lip before, it's just going to hide that design behind the lip. So that's a really good feature, is being able to adjust there. Let's just, again, smooth that out like that. This may end up a bit horrific, but it's not the point. I'm not a very good designer. I know the software though. So let's adjust this tooth here. Great Dracula fangs. I can choose the tooth editing radius, or I bring this radius right down, and if I go into here, we can see it's a smallish radius. Or we can make it a lot bigger, and you can see I can make much bigger changes. So that's what the tooth editing radius is, basically how big this predicted shape is going to be. The drawing smoothness as well, I want to make this quite smooth, so I'm going to come in here and say let's smooth that off a bit. Much nicer. Oh, maybe not. So there we go, there's some teeth. I've crossed that one over just for fun. What else can we do? Mirror tooth. This is a really good tool. So I can say, I really like this Dracula canine over here. I want to send it to the other side. So I've got a nice, symmetric, beautiful smile. So you can see, you click on a tooth, it knows which tooth is on the left and which is on the right, and gives us an arrow. So I'm going to say click, and then it's mirrored it immediately. Let's mirror those centrals. That's a bit nicer now. And why not do the laterals, and why not do the fours as well? So now I've got a nice, lovely, symmetric smile with Dracula's fangs hiding behind my lower lip. Finally, we can do some measurements. So if I had clicked, say, if I'd done a measurement with a ruler from there to there, in real life, that would actually, getting a ruler on my face and measuring, I can input this distance. Let's just make a number up, 5. And that way you can see that dimension is 5 millimeters. This is great to use if you actually want to know the real width of a tooth and how you can scale it, or if you're going to do a prep later on, you can say, well, I know the tooth is 3 millimeters wide, I'm going to cut it down by, say, 1 millimeter for the minimum thickness of the particular material, and you can work from there. So those are some of the cool features we can use in the smile design. And again, we can see the overlays. We can rotate a tooth, so maybe Dracula's fangs point out a little, just for fun. I'm happy with that smile for demonstration purposes, so let's move on. Next, what have we got? This is the tooth simulation. So we can say, okay, Dracula, what texture does he want? Oh, a bit yellow. Let's go to granite. Right, there we go. A bit of graying from eating too many poor victims. Let's change the shade. Oh, maybe, what do you think? I'm not sure. Let's zoom out and actually see, how does this fit with my face? It's not bad, but probably doesn't quite contrast well with the orange beard. So maybe something like this. Maybe there. And the brightness, of course, we can dial that right up. Oh, bleach. Wow. Sunshine. So yeah, it's Dracula. He doesn't like sunshine. He's hidden away. He's going to have something like that. No, let's bring it back in. So there we go. Here's my Halloween trick. We can also auto color. So I can click here, and it will automatically color them based on the teeth around them. We can do a bit of shadow from lip as well, so you can see where the shadow or the light might be coming from, how heavy the lip is, and we can see the shadow adjust there. Or the highlights, if you have particular highlights with your teeth, we can adjust those as well. We can edit the photo, so we can say, actually, let's just sort of adjust the photo a little. Maybe up here we can do a tiny bit. Let's make the size a bit bigger so it's more obvious. And there's some small movements going on there. So there we go. Smile design done. What we can do now is a before and after. If I send this back to myself on the Communicate app, I'll be able to use my phone and show my friends, this is what a dental professional, no, not a dental professional, this is what a dental professional suggested for my new Halloween look. So I can say before and after. Let's go to after. We can also say mirror, and we can see it switches around. So obviously I wasn't quite even when I took the photo, or maybe the muscles in my face don't smile evenly, but this helps the patient see what they would look like from looking in a mirror, rather than just what someone else sees them as. We can also export the photos. I'm going to click here and export. I'll save them on the desktop, and we'll say Dracula. And it's going to save all those photos on the desktop. I'll just go get one of those. And bring that up on here. I'll bring this across to the screen so everyone can see. And you can see there's Dracula close-up, original, simulation, smile design, and smile frame. So if I take these, I can then send them off to the lab to see. So the lab understands what we have agreed on as a dental professional and as a patient as well. So we can see there's the original, then there's the simulation, there's the frame, and then there's the alignment as well with the golden proportions. So we can see here, this is how it was set up. There's the tooth widths, all the information. So this can be sent across to a lab and they can make use of this. Excellent, so that's all done. We don't have enough scans to run patient monitoring. What I can do now is that I've finished the smile design. I can go back to here and I can export this as well. So I can export to a 30XZ and send, and this is all good. Awesome, so that comes to the end of the webinar. What we've looked at is some patient communication apps. We dealt with the clearance map to see what the distance between the jaws are. We looked at the patient monitoring to see how much the teeth have moved with time, providing you've taken lots of scans. The treatment simulator, which can simulate orthodontic movements, be it with braces or clear aligners, to help the patient understand how their teeth move. And finally, the smile design, to give the patient a photo, and that way they can see how they could look with certain treatments. So that's the end for today. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Either give us a call in our office in Sydney, Zurich, or Toronto, or reach out on our website, dentalaccess.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye.